I was having Yashua Rico from StreetScores, and according to Dan Katz, the Washington Commanders are Super Bowl contenders. We're going to take a look at where the Commanders are in all of the national media and expert power rankings around the internet, especially after this Browns win. We're hearing that Jayden Daniels is MVP. I can't wait to talk about it. And of course, this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And before we dive into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. I know this video is coming out late, but shouts out to everybody that's part of the late crowd. I'm recording this right now 3:47 a.m. Eastern time. We'll see when I finally get it out to y'all, probably by like 5 a.m. But whatever, man, make sure y'all stay tuned, and I'm about to go ahead and start working on these film sessions that will be exclusive to channel members. So if you're not one, go become one. And without further ado, instead of wasting more of y'all time, let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so first of all, Sunday Night Football on NBC has an entire graphic of their power rankings, and I wanted to go ahead and show you that graphic while we're here. Shouts out to ProFootballTalk.com for this one, and we are ranked 5th. We're just going to go ahead and look at this before we start to dive into all of the different websites that don't have graphics. I just wanted to make sure y'all can see like a visual of where people feel like the Commanders are right now. They even have us, most importantly, right above the Ravens. And then to be very petty for me, 3 spots above the Falcons brings me joy. And then above the Cowboys, Eagles, and of course the Giants as well is poetry, man. This is absolutely beautiful to see. Now, granted, it's only 5 weeks into the season. We have a lot of football left to play, but we are definitely on an upward trajectory. There are some teams that are playing well, but maybe they're not necessarily getting better every week like we are. Where Jayden Daniels is passing a new test every week. Cliff Kingsbury is unveiling a new wrinkle and a new chapter in his playbook every week. The defense is playing better every week. You can see that we went up 4 spots from 9 to 5 in their power rankings from after we beat the Cardinals compared to after we just beat the Browns most recently. Now let's dive into all of the different power rankings from all of the different national media websites and experts out there. And shouts out to Scott Jennings of hogshaven.com for putting these in like numerical order from our highest spot on the power ranking, and it's going to get lower and lower and lower. And the highest is 4th, the lowest is 16th, just to let you know, and our average is 8.2. But again, just to remind you, our highest is 4th. Starting with Sports Illustrated, you have Orr over there. He said, a stunning performance over the sleepwalking Browns. Jayden Daniels saw pressure and on 3rd and forevers was evading defenders and torching secondaries in that battle between quarterbacks. Both were facing an onslaught of defenders. One of the two made the defense pay and regret ever sending an extra rusher, Jayden Daniels. Welcome to the MVP conversation. Again, Sports Illustrated has us ranked 4th in their power rankings, even higher than the Pro Football Talk that you just saw that had us ranked 5th. Another person has us ranked 4th as well. You have Kendall After Athletic. They said even the people who were optimistic about the Commanders' rookie quarterback, Jayden Daniels, weren't optimistic enough. Daniels was 99th in the draft order and sits 5th in points per game, 22.68, and 2nd in points by quarterbacks after 5 weeks. This is fantasy football talk, just to let you know. He passed for 238 yards and rushed for 82 against the Browns, and had now led the Washington Commanders in rushing 3 of his 5 games, in addition to being the NFL's leader in expected points added per drop back with a .38. We're talking about historical numbers. Last week, the Athletic had us at 6. They had no choice but to raise us all the way up to 4 this week after beating the Browns. Then who has us ranked 5th? You have Pro Football Talk, just like the graphic I showed you, but with a small explanation. First of all, we went from 9 to 5, like I already mentioned, but they said we'll learn a lot more about this team on Sunday when they visit the team next on the list, and that's the Ravens. This Ravens showdown was going to be big time for us to really measure where we are right now. I feel like the Ravens, for I mean, as long as I can remember, have been like a good measuring stick for the burgundy and gold to see like where we truly are right now. Just like last season when we did that joint practice and a couple of players showed out, we had some flashes, but overall the Ravens look like a team headed to the playoffs, and we did not look like a team headed to the playoffs. You can see the difference. Now this is the regular season when it matters the most. We're all on an upward trajectory. Even though the Ravens struggled against the Bengals more than we struggled with the Bengals, I can't wait for this showdown because again, it is of course in Baltimore. Luckily, we don't have to travel far. We don't even have to leave the state of Maryland for the entire month of October, which is nice, but it's still technically an away game because there will more than likely be more Ravens fans than Commanders fans. We won't have that home field advantage that we just had against the Browns, and that does matter. But again, Pro Football Talk has us ranked above the Ravens by 1 spot. We'll see who ends up winning that battle this Sunday. Of course, I will be live streaming that all 4 quarters, play by play, all of that type of stuff. I am so excited. The reason I'm up so late right now, just to let you know, I've been working on all of my new reactions and my different buttons that I have on my stream deck for the live stream. So just know I have a lot more reactions, a lot more sound effects and effects that you visually see on the screen as well. I'm super excited to show that to y'all for this upcoming Ravens game. Now moving on, there's a few websites that have us ranked 6th. I think 6 or 7 of them. Let's get to it. First of all, you have Ed Holm at NFL.com. He said through 5 weeks, the Commanders are nearly halfway to their 2023 season total of 329 points. That's crazy. They've already matched last year's win total of 4 and have a chance to make a statement in a Week 6 showdown with the Ravens. Non-conference tilts normally don't weigh this much, but this is shaping up to be the biggest Commanders game in years. I would even go to say that the Ravens, if you're looking at our schedule, are our toughest opponent. If we win this game or even just match up very well to where it's like a nail biting loss or something like that, then that I have the utmost confidence with the remaining of our schedule. I don't look at any other opponent on our schedule if we play well against the Ravens, let alone win that game. I'm not afraid. I'm really not afraid of anybody, but I'm not looking at anybody on our schedule as like a man that's going to be too tough. I don't know about that. Now I'm going into every game confident if we beat these Ravens. I hope the Commanders, if we do beat the Ravens, go into every game confident, but not as arrogant as I am. I want them to, still make sure they don't look ahead any weeks to other opponents. They make sure they treat every opponent with the utmost respect and preparation to be able to beat each and everybody. Don't fall for any trap games. But for me, as a fan, we beat the Ravens. I'm talking crazy. I'm talking Super Bowl appearance. I don't care. Continuing with the article, a loss obviously won't kill what has been a dream start to the season, but win this one, and who knows how high the ceiling is for this club. Jaden Daniels didn't have the sharpest game on Sunday. He was a little off target early, but he finished with 320 combined passing and rushing yards, shaking off the early red zone pick to finish with a good performance overall. And how about the Washington's defense? This might not be a special unit right now, but that's 3 solid performances in the past 4 games, and he had us ranked 7th last week, 6th this week. Then going on to CBS Sports, Prisco last week had us ranked 8th. Now we're ranked 6th. He said they are the surprise of the league, but they haven't exactly beaten up on good teams during their 4-game winning streak. They get the Ravens this week in a real prove-it game, and I'm sick of the narrative being constantly changed and the goalposts moving because everybody assumed we would lose to the Bengals. Then when we beat them, it's just the Bengals. Look at their record and all of this type of stuff. Then same thing with the Cardinals. Ooh, it's the Cardinals on the road after you just played Monday night. As much as I like the Commanders, I don't see them beating the Cardinals. Then we whoop on them, skunk them. You know what I'm saying? Now suddenly, it's just the Cardinals, even though the Cardinals just beat the 49ers, I believe, in San Francisco. And then the Browns coming up. All of the national media, I love what the Commanders are doing, but at some point they're gonna have to come back down to earth, especially going against one of the better defenses in the NFL. Then we go in that game, we could have put up 50 on them, but we sat Jaden Daniels up again in the 4th quarter, and now the narrative has changed to the point that, I guess the Browns are just a terrible team as well all of a sudden, even though people weren't acting like that leading up to the game. So at this point, or even before this point, you really can't even pay attention to what the national media is saying in a lot of different ways. They just keep trying to discredit what we've been doing. And I do agree, though, that we go out there and we beat the Ravens, it shuts everybody up. I don't want to hear nothing from anybody. Moving on to the 33rd team over there. They had us ranked 11th last week. And just like these other people that are in this same space, the same category, have us ranked 6th this week, moving up 5 spots. They said the Washington Commanders are not a fluke. Against one of the league's best defenses, Jaden lit up the Browns in a game that was never competitive. Washington's defense is starting to come together as it has allowed just 6 non-garbage time points to the Browns. Thank you for acknowledging that. Golly, that touchdown hurt my soul. Just like watching the Georgia Bulldogs play a sorry team, and then we literally like just completely shut them out. The score is like 50-something to 0, and then they just go and score a touchdown once we start to put in a bunch of true freshmen. That's kind of how that felt. It's like, man, I wish they definitely didn't score that touchdown, because now people are going to look at the score and see 34-13 like that game even had any sort of a chance at any point. But continuing with the article, through 5 games, the Commanders have to be considered the clear-cut favorites in the NFC East with a start for Washington. Then you have Sporting News, had us ranked 10th last week, 6th this week as well. The Commanders are in complete control of their run-heavy offensive game plan with rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels, which allows them to roll into a fast downfield passing game. The more recent surprise is the defense starting to rev up the pass rush for Dan Quinn. Loving it, man. Then you have Fox Sports, last week ranked 9th, just like a few of these other people, now have us ranked 6th. They said, let's be clear, I believe in Washington. The Commanders have gone head-to-head against great offenses like Cincinnati and won. This past week, they took down a quality defense in Cleveland. I firmly believe they're a good team. This week's trip to Baltimore is less about proving they belong and more about showing us how high their ceiling really is. And then moving on to clutch points. Last week had us ranked 10th. Just like a few of these other people, now have us ranked 6th as well in their power rankings. They said the Washington Commanders continue to surprise, and their Week 5 easy win over the Cleveland Browns was just another showing of what Jaden Daniels is capable of, as the Commanders comfortably find themselves nearing the top 5 of our Week 6 NFL power rankings, just one spot out of it. Throwing for 238 yards and running for 82, Daniels was exactly what this offense desperately needed. I completely agree wholeheartedly, 100%. Terry McLaurin seems extremely happy to have a good quarterback throwing him passes. Boy, is he. As the veteran hauled in 4 of 112 yards and including a 66-yard bomb from Daniels. Now let's move on to a few places that have us ranked 7th. There's like 4 or 5 of them. Let's get there. So you have ESPN. They had us ranked last week 11th, now ranked 7th. And of course, ESPN is done by like a collection of people. And then John Keim, our ESPN representative for the Washington Commanders over there, speaks on our behalf. But this is not an article done by John Keim, even though it's his quotes. They said the fantasy surprise was Jaden Daniels. They did a fantasy surprise for every team. And then they also said Daniels being the number 2 fantasy quarterback, averaging 22.7 fantasy points behind Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield, was not anticipated. Daniels is throwing 227 yards per game, and he's on pace for 14 touchdown passes and 14 rushing touchdowns. He's also on pace to throw for more than 3,800 yards and rush for more than 1,000. That's quite a combination, and it's a key reason he has become such a good fantasy player and a dangerous quarterback overall. They said the number 2 fantasy quarterback behind Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield does not make them 3rd. I don't know. Either way, we're ranked 7th on their power rankings. That's all that really matters. I'm just going to go ahead and move on from that. I don't know if that was a typo on ESPN's end or whoever. Either way, USA Today had us ranked 9th last week, moving us up now 2 spots to 7. They said a lot of firsts here. First place, first team with 13 rushing touchdowns through 5 weeks since Gerald Ford was president. First rookie, Jaden Daniels, to start his career with 1,000 passing yards and 250 rushing yards 5 games into a season in NFL history. Pretty soon, their supporters will be musing about the possibility of their first Super Bowl trip post Joe Gibbs. Talk to him, let him know. Then you have New York Post. Last week had us ranked 10th, now 7th. They said no team has scored more points this season than the Commanders, who pounded the Browns 34-13 for a 4th straight win. Daniels threw a 41-yard touchdown pass and was one of 4 rushers, along with Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, and Jeremy McNichols, who combined to carry 31 times for 211 yards. Daniel scored on the ground too. Talk to him, man. This guy can do everything. And then, you know, Bleacher Report, they're going to have a whole essay. We're going to try to read as much as we can. Maybe we'll just go ahead and read through all of it. But if you don't care about everything that Bleacher Report has to say, maybe just skip ahead like a minute or 2 just to give you a heads up. But last week they had us ranked 14th. They had no choice but to move us all the way up to 7th after the way that we handled the Browns, because it's not just who you play, and it's how you beat them as well. So I think that's definitely an important context. Maybe if we barely beat the Browns, I can see why some people wouldn't move us up their power rankings a significant amount. But the way that we dismantled the Browns, it looked like a playoff team going against a non-playoff team. There was a clear chasm right there. We typically have been the ones on the losing end of that. But going back to Bleacher Report, who again has us ranked 7th on their power rankings, last week had us ranked 14th. They said for the first time in a while, the Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels looked like a rookie Sunday against the Cleveland Browns. Daniels threw an early interception at the goal line and completed just 14 of 25 passes. It didn't matter even a little. Thanks to over 200 yards on the ground and a second straight stout defensive performance, the Commanders pasted the Browns to win their 4th consecutive game. After the win, Daniels told reporters that he's doing his best to maintain an even keel despite early success. He said, quote, "Stay the course, don't get too high, get too low. Everything's gonna work out. I just missed some throws. That's it. Some throws I wish I had back, but we were able to capitalize on some plays," unquote. Continuing with the Bleacher Report article, Daniels accounted for over 300 yards on offense against the reeling Browns, and while it seemed incomprehensible just 1 month ago to be saying this, Knox thinks the Commanders might just be the best team in the NFC East. Quote, "Rookie phenom Jayden Daniels didn't have his cleanest game as a pro in week 5, but it really didn't matter. For the second straight week, Washington's defense showed up and helped propel the Commanders to a decisive win. That should concern the rest of the NFC East. Daniels is playing like the best quarterback in the division, and Washington just might have its most complete roster. We may well find out just how good the Commanders really are next week when Daniels and Washington make the short road trip to Baltimore to face Lamar Jackson and the Ravens again." I'm so excited for that matchup, man. And it does kind of suck that it's going to be at 1 p.m. I know everybody wants it at 8 p.m. Even my dogs like this, not Commanders fans, not Baltimore fans. Y'all know I'm from Atlanta, so I have friends that, of course, a lot of them are Falcons fans, but also like it's a healthy mix of like Steelers, Colts, Rams, 49ers, all over the place, Bears. Like we're really all over the place with it, and everybody is like in a unanimous agreement that, man, we wish this game would get moved to 8 p.m. We don't want like this game to be going on with a lot of other good 1 p.m. games. Then we get to the 8 p.m. game and it's gonna suck. But it is what it is, man. CBS is not letting it go, and I'm not mad at them. They paid billions of dollars to get great games. I wouldn't allow another network to get my game either, but it is what it is. And even anyway, as a streamer, you know what I'm saying, a guy that does the live play-by-play every game, being done by 4 p.m. is quite nice, man. I ain't gonna lie. I personally prefer 1 p.m. just as a streamer. As a fan, 8 p.m. would be great. Be more national spotlight, but as a selfish streamer, hey, man, 1 p.m. is just fine with me, man. Now, moving on to all of the websites and experts that have us ranked 8th, there's 4 of them. You have Yahoo Sports. Last week had us ranked 12th, now 8th. They said Jayden Daniels is playing so well, he deserves to be in the early MVP conversations. It's tougher to know what to do with the Commanders. Is this the level we can expect all season? Philadelphia is still favored to win the NFC East, and that seems right. Maybe. Hey, shouts out to Yahoo Sports for at least thinking about it. Then you have the score. Last week ranked 12th as well. This week ranked 8th as well. 2. Jayden Daniels continues to spur a revamped Commanders unit. Washington is second in the league with 31 points per contest and is averaging 178.4 rushing yards per game during its 4-game win streak. Then you even have Walter Football. Last week ranked 9th, now only up 1 spot to 8th, but still, I'll take it. 8th best team in the NFL, 5 weeks in. Who knew before this season even started? Jayden Daniels has been incredible, but so has the Washington defense the past 2 weeks. Is it a fluke? I'm not sure, but Washington has suffocated the Cardinals and Browns in consecutive games. And I don't want people to sit here and act like the Cardinals offense is terrible. I don't want to hear none of that. And then last of the people that had us ranked 8th, you had Odd Shark. Of course, they just like have a whole list, so they don't even have like an explanation as to why or a breakdown. But last week they had us ranked 15th, and then they skyrocketed us up 7 spots all the way to 8th. They didn't believe us after the Cardinals win. They believed us after the Browns win. That's cool though. Then you have who has us ranked 9th. You have 3 places. You have Pro Football Network. Last week ranked 10th. After the Browns win, only moved us up 1 spot to 9th. And this is another really long one, so I'm not gonna lie, we're gonna go ahead and move past this one, because that one's like just as long, if not even a little bit longer than the Bleacher Report one. But just know, if you want to go check that out and hear some compliments about the Commanders, there's also some really good stats in there as well. But just know, last week 10th, this week 9th. Then you have Sports Not. Last week 13th, now 9th as well. They said the beauty with Jaden Daniels on the center is that even when he's not as sharp as a passer, 14 of 25 with 1 touchdown, 1 interception on Sunday, he can still make an explosive play through the air and give you great production on the ground. Daniels is playing well, and thanks to run game coordinator Anthony Lynn, the Washington Commanders' run game is really coming together. We wouldn't bet on the Commanders to beat Baltimore Ravens next week, but it should be a great game. Hey, man, stop hating. Don't do us like that, man. Don't do us like that, bit, bro. Man, come on, rock with us. Now, next up, Sharp Football Analysis had us 15th last week. Now they have us ranked 9th as well. Then you have Numberfire had us ranked 21st last week. Then shot us up 10 spots all the way to 11th. They didn't believe us after the Cardinals win, but something about that Browns win was like, all right, maybe the Commanders actually are real. Then you have the Lions last week 18th, now 12th. They said Jaden Daniels and the Commanders can prove beyond a doubt that they're a legitimate contender if they hang with the Ravens next week. I can't wait for a lot of these people to still have us ranked out of the top 10 to see what we do against the Ravens this week, because something about it, I'm going into that game real confident. Maybe it's because of how we played against the Bengals compared to how the Ravens did, but I got a feeling, man. I got a feeling. Then 14th, you have NFL trade rumors. Last week 16th, now 14th. They said Washington put a total beat down on the overmatched Browns, maintaining their lead in the NFC East. First round quarterback Jaden Daniels had a rough first half, and yet the rest of the roster stepped up to help him when he needed it. It was an important mark for his Commander squad, as it seems the team is a lot better on the whole than we initially assumed. And then you have the Ringer, who had us ranked 21st last week, now 15th. And then the lowest we are for anybody is team rankings. Last week 21st, now 16th. That's it. Now, before we move on to a few more rankings and a few breakdowns and some exact quotes that people have said about Jaden Daniels and the Commanders being Super Bowl contenders, can't wait to talk about that. We have Colin Cowherd. We have some quotes from him as well. Before we get to that, though, just to let you know, this show is provided by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. If you're looking for a new sportsbook, it should be BetUS for sure. First of all, they have the fastest payouts in the industry, and I know y'all want y'all money fast. And right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits after that for up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YOUTUBE 150. And they have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process as well. So it's like, why not? And also, let's take a look at some betting lines directly through their website that we can really get into that can make some smart money right now. And as you can see on your screen right now, man, for the 2024 NFL regular season MVP odds, right now he has plus 800 odds. I know how that goes. And what I also know is that the only people who have better odds than him right now, who BetUS through their website feel like has a greater chance of winning MVP than Jaden Daniels, the only people are CJ Stroud, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Pat Mahomes. That is literally it. They have Jaden Daniels with better odds of winning MVP over every other player in the NFL, every other quarterback, every other elite wide receiver, whatever you want to throw in there. That's how great Jaden Daniels has been playing. And now, say if you wanted to put $100 on it today, just put the $100 down, forget about it. Jaden Daniels wins the MVP at the end of the season. You'll end up winning $800 from that. Or if you want to just go real light, just put like a quick 10 on it just for fun, you'll end up winning $80 if Jaden Daniels ends up winning MVP of the NFL regular season, man. And the odds keep increasing, which means the later you put in the bet, the less money you'll make at the end of it. So you may want to hop on this early if you plan on hopping on it. But of course, like I always say, please gamble responsibly. If you don't do nothing else, please gamble responsibly. Me, as in Rico of StreetScores, is always going to urge that and repeat that. Please gamble responsibly, man. I don't want y'all going out bad out here, man. And before we move on again, right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YOUTUBE150. Now let's get back to this power ranking stuff and the Commanders being Super Bowl contenders talk, man. I'm loving it. So now we have other people's interest in power ranking systems. Like, let's start with Colin Cowherd of Fox. He has his herd hierarchy, and all he cares about is the top 10 teams and nobody else. All he does is rank the top 10 teams, the top teams that are possibly like Super Bowl contenders and things like that. He had the Cowboys 10th. I love that. He had the Falcons 9th. Again, I'm going to be petty about that as well. The Bills 8th. the Texans 7th, the Green Bay Packers 6th, then the Commanders 5th. Then the Lions 4th, Ravens 3rd, Vikings 2nd, and Chiefs 1st, which I can't be mad at all. If you feel like the only teams that are better than the Commanders right now are the Lions, Ravens, Vikings, and Chiefs, I'm not mad at all. So Colin Cowherd feels like the Washington Commanders are the 5th best team in the NFL right now. I love to hear it because nobody saw this coming before the season started, man. So it is so beautiful. And then you even have playoffstatus.com. They have calculated that we have a 71% chance of making the playoffs right now, because based off of whatever calculations they have going, they have an entire chart, as you can see on the screen right now. We have a 29% chance of not making the playoffs at all, but we have an 8% chance of being the 7th seed, 8% chance of being the 6th seed, 7% chance of being the 5th seed, and then a 4% chance of the 4th seed, but an 11% chance of the 3rd, 19% chance of the 2nd, and a 13% chance of the 1st. The reason that it's in red is because that indicates that the team does not control its own destiny, because we need the Vikings to lose. Say the Vikings go undefeated for the rest of the season and we do as well, then we still don't get that number 1 seed. So that's red because we don't control our own destiny. If we want the number 1 seed, we need the Vikings to lose at least 1 game. But that's still a pretty high percentage. 13% to be the 1st seed in the NFC is beautiful. That's the 2nd highest out of the entire NFC. The next closest is the Lions at 10%. I'm loving what I'm seeing right now. Absolutely loving it, and they really feel like we have a great chance to win this division, which is why we have such high percentages, double digit except for 4th seed, for basically being one of the top 4 seeds, which means we won the division to get that. Loving it, man. Now moving on, you even have Marcus Spears, who agrees. He was on ESPN's NFL Live, and he said, quote, "I think the Commanders will win the NFC East," unquote. He was super serious about it. He also talked about how Jaden Daniels has elevated the Commanders organization. It all starts with him and everything like that. If you want to go check out that clip on the official at ESPN NFL Twitter account, it's a whole 50 seconds of him basically just giving a bunch of compliments to the Commanders and Jaden Daniels, and I love hearing that type of stuff, so I'm assuming you may want to hear that as well. Now moving on, you have Big Cat at Barstool Big Cat, aka Dan Katz over there, and he has this chart right here, this little power ranking system. I love it because, you know, typically I see these for like animes and video games, but he has one for football right here, and I'm not mad at this because he has the Chiefs and Vikings as juggernauts, and then Super Bowl contenders just only the Lions, Ravens, Texans, and Commanders. And then he has playoff teams: Buccaneers, Cowboys, Green Bay Packers, and Falcons, which again, I'm gonna be petty. I'm happy to be above the Falcons most of all, but also the rest of the NFC East is in the Cowboys, the Eagles, and then you have the Giants all the way down there, which is amazing. I thought that was pretty funny that they're right there at frisky and fun. Like, they're fun to watch, but they're just not that good, I guess. I mean, and you have so many specific categories. Like, you have elite somewhere in the middle, but you have playoff team if Lane Johnson is healthy. I thought that was funny for the Eagles. You have must-win primetime game coming up. I understand that. Can't lose primetime game coming up. Building something. I'm not mad at that. Elite, which is interesting. I thought, yeah, just the lone Colts logo with Joe Flacco in the middle of it, just in case if you didn't recognize that. Then you said it has the exact same Steelers as every other Steelers team, right in the middle, gonna go right above 500 per usual. Bye week, kind of forgot they exist. Is funny. Frisky and fun again, where the Giants are at. Could be frisky, but also suck to watch play football. Not fun to watch, especially with Tua hurt over there for the Dolphins. Needed the bye week badly. Possible coach killer. And then just straight up terrible on that line. Then you have super terrible. Then you have extremely terrible. And then Deshaun Watson is in his own category of jail. I thought that was funny. Then moving on, you also have Nick Wright, who does his weekly Mahomes Mountain. Of course, Mahomes is going to be at the top, but he's also a Kansas City Chiefs fan. So it's like a mix of both. Like, he believes Pat Mahomes actually is the best quarterback in the NFL, which, I mean, at this point, every time we doubt him in the regular season, he ends up finding a way to get back to the Super Bowl and even winning them a lot of the time as well. So I'm done doubting the Chiefs no matter how bad they look during the regular season. So Nick Wright got it, and especially he definitely got it with the fact that he has Jaden Daniels in this tier along with CJ Stroud and Josh Allen, only under Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Pat Mahomes, like you see on the screen right now, which means at worst Jaden Daniels is a top 6 quarterback to a guy like Nick Wright, who's arguably one of the most like super analytical guys over there, like on national television. And then you have Get Up, of course, the Get Up show on ESPN, Dan Orlovsky went on there a couple of days ago and said, quote, Washington has found their Lamar Jackson. The reason I'm including this is because of the fact that we go against the Ravens this upcoming week. But he said, quote, Washington has found their Lamar Jackson. The team is going to contend for Super Bowls because of Jaden Daniels. And that's a whole 35-second clip of him just praising Jaden Daniels and explaining why and everything like that. If you wanted to go check that out on @GetUpESPN on Twitter. And then moving on, lastly, before we get up out of here, you also even have Stephen A. Smith praising us. You know, no matter what small success we've had, he's always downplayed it and ignored it. But now he's even saying, just as of before even the Browns game, he said Jaden Daniels should be in the early MVP conversation. He explained why Jaden Daniels should be in MVP talks based off of the first 4 weeks in the NFL season. Then after we beat the Browns, he did a whole nother segment on his own like personal radio show podcast that wasn't even First Take, and he talked about Jaden Daniels should probably just go ahead and be considered one of the MVP candidates, one of the leading MVP candidates. So if you want to go check that out and hear Stephen A. Smith finally praise the Commanders, you can go check that out as well. But that there is the end of this video. Please make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, man. I really appreciate y'all. Make sure you do not leave this video without stiff arming that like button. And once I'm not busy, I'm gonna try my best to read and reply to as many comments as possible. Not only just this video, but the last couple of them, especially the JC Horn and the Amari Cooper videos where I'm asking y'all, should we trade for them, why and why not, and things like that. So make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Again, I'm trying to get to the point where I'm doing 2 videos a day, and I'm about to start getting these film sessions out for my exclusive channel members. So if you're not one, go become one, and make sure you pull up for this upcoming game against the Ravens. I will be live streaming that, and I have a lot of new reactions, sounds, and effects for y'all to see on the screen as well. That is gonna get debuted during the Ravens game. I'm super excited. I'm hoping they give me a reason to press every single one of these buttons, because all of the new ones that I added are all positive. You'll see, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So again, make sure you do not leave this video without stiff arming that like button. I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.